Hey, welcome back, my friends. I am Brian, and you are Chords and Notes Nation. I have something special today. As you guys know, I've been doing the versus reaction where I will take two musical artists, whether it be groups or vocalists, whatever the case may be, and compare them side by side as they perform a cover song. Today, I'm going to do it a little bit differently. I've chosen three vocalists. I thought this would be an interesting sort of extension of what we're doing. It's the song Kiss from a Rose. We know this one. This is a song by Seal. Amazing song. I think we all know it. The three vocalists that are going to be singing this song: Dan Vasc, Dimas Cenopati, and Austin Brown. The Dan Vasc video is from 11 years ago. He does have one that's more recent, but that is a duet with Violet Orlandi. So I wanted just the one with only him. His singing has improved over the years as well. So this is going to be one of the younger versions. Take it as you will. It is material that is out there for us to examine and to look at, to scrutinize, to appreciate. And it will be going up against Dimas Cenopati, who just put his out about 8 hours ago at the time I'm recording this, and then Austin Brown, a former member of the a cappella group Home Free. He put his out about 9 months ago. The age span, I'm not quite sure how old each performer is in each respective video, but that's okay, because this is not about age. It's not about where they come from. It is all about the performance. And we are not going to see, even though I'm asking who did the better job of covering the song, I'm not asking who is the better overall artist. This is one thing that I need to get through to you people, because there's many of you who may be skipping over this idea or not registering this idea. This has been a very, very popular series on Chords and Notes Nation, but many, many people are just getting into the camp of their most favorite artist, and that's it. They've got no desire to entertain the possibility that someone else may have done a better job at singing or performing a specific song. So that is the whole idea of these verses, is to open our minds, to be able to relax a little bit from emotionally holding on to one group more so than the other, or one vocalist more so than the other, and just appreciate the God-given talent that people have and their interpretation of songs and music. So yeah, that's how we're going to do this. Don't forget to check out the description box below. Please like, subscribe. Definitely, if there's a hype button available, please hype it. That will definitely push this out into the algorithm, telling the algorithm to say, hey, people want to see this. So it's up to you guys to do that. I can't hype my own. Only you can. And then look for that poll at the end of, or after the video's been released. There will be a poll posted on my channel for you to be able to vote and comment. Make sure your comments are respectful as always, and please watch until the end so you can hear my choice as to who sang it better. So we are going to start with Dan Vasc. He is from Brazil. Then we will go to Austin Brown from the United States, and then Dimas Cenopati from Indonesia. Here we go, folks.
There used to be a great tower alone on the sea. You became my eyes become larger. The light that you shine can't be seen. Baby, right compared to a kiss from a rose on the grave. Ooh, the more I get of you, the stranger it feels, yeah. Now that your rose is in bloom, a light hits the gloom on the grave. There is so much a man can tell you, so much he can say. You remain my power, my pleasure, my pain, baby. To me, you're like a growing addiction that I can't deny. Now won't you tell me it's a healthy baby? But did you know that when it snows, my eyes become large and the light that you shine can't be seen? Baby, right compared to a kiss from a rose on the grave. Ooh, the more I get of you, the stranger it feels, yeah. Now that your rose is in bloom, a light hits the gloom of the grave. Kissed by a rose on the grave. I've been kissed by a rose on the grave. And if I should fall with it all on the way, baby, I've been kissed by a rose on the grave. There is so much this man can tell, so much I can say. She is my power, my pleasure, my pain.
Nice. Nice.
To me, you're like a growing addiction that I can't deny. Now won't you tell me is I'm happy, babe? But did you know that when it snows, my eyes become large and the light that you shine can't be seen? Baby, right compared to a kiss from a rose on the grave. Ooh, the more I get of you, the stranger it feels, yeah. Now that your rose is in bloom, a light hits the gloom of the grave. It's like compared to a kiss from a rose on the grave. Ooh, the more I get of you, the stranger it feels, yeah. Now that your rose is in bloom, the light hits the gloom of the grave. Na, 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 na. Now that your rose is in bloom, a light hits the gloom on the grave.
Nice, dude. Nice. All right. Yeah, I'm not going to do the ending stuff because this isn't just a Dan Vasc video. So just a brief pause before we move into Austin Brown's version. I think Dan did a wonderful job. I think if I remember correctly, the newer version was a little bit more powerful, but that was the recording technology was a little bit different. The mixing and the editing, plus he had Violet Orlandi, so it was a little bit different that way. This version here was really, really good. I loved how he used all the different vocal dynamics to sell the song and not just sing the song. He was really putting himself into the original vocal footprint, so to speak. I think he did a really marvelous job of putting putting just enough touch in the areas where he needed to and enough power in the other areas where he needed to. And it seemed very, very smooth. It flowed very well. And that ending where it was just him, I think was just a really, really nice touch. So let's move on to Austin Brown's version.
I can't believe it finally snowed in Nashville. There used to be a gray tower alone on the sea, and you became the light on the dark side of me, and love remained the drug that's the high and not the pill. But did you know that when it snows, my eyes become large, and the light that you shine can't be seen? Baby, I compare you to a kiss from a rose on the grave. Ooh, the more I get to you, the stranger it feels, yeah. And now that your rose is in bloom, a light hits the gloom on the grave. There is so much a man can tell you, so much he can say, and you remain my power, my pleasure, my pain, baby. To me you're like a grown addiction that I can't deny. And won't you tell me, is it healthy, baby? But did you know that when it snows, my eyes become large, and the light that you shine can't be seen? Baby, I compare you to a kiss from a rose on the grave. Ooh, the more I get to you, the stranger it feels, yeah. And now that your rose is in bloom, a light hits the gloom on the grave. I've been kissed by a rose on the grave. I've been kissed by a rose on the grave. I've been kissed by a rose on the grave. I've been kissed by a rose on the grave. So much a man can tell you, so much he can say, and you remain my power, my pleasure, my pain, baby. To me you're like a grown addiction that I can't deny. And won't you tell me, is it healthy, baby? But did you know that when it snows, my eyes become large, and the light that you shine can't be seen? Baby, I compare you to a kiss from a rose on the grave. Ooh, the more I get to you, the stranger it feels, yeah. Now that your rose is in bloom, a light hits the gloom on the grave. I compare you to a kiss from a rose on the grave. Ooh, the more I get to you, the stranger it feels, yeah. And now that your rose is in bloom, a light hits the gloom on the grave. Ooh, ba-ya-ya, ba-da-ba-da-da-da. Now that your rose is in bloom, a light hits the gloom on the grave.
Cool. Nice. Nice. We'll end it there. Yeah, this had a little bit of a different vibe, and it took a little bit of courage to be able to do that, I would think. You're taking such an iconic song such as this, and you're putting a different touch on it. But he did keep the majority of the main melodic elements that we are familiar with, the hook and just the way that he kind of, had to slide through certain sounds, because that is the song, right? That's the meat and potatoes of the song. Everything else is just sort of the dressing around the melodic line. And this proves that you can do a cover song differently. There are obviously there's two camps here. The one camp are the purists, which I do mostly reside in. If you're going to cover a song, make it as true to the original as you possibly can. And then I partially reside in this camp. If you're going to do a cover, make it yours, or at least put some sort of stamp on it that identifies this version as you, that you stand apart from all the other different covers of a song. And I think Austin did that. He's got a little bit of a different stride in his musical step. He's got a different spirit, a different joie de vivre that comes through in the way that he sings. And I found it to be interesting. At first, I wasn't certain whether or not I was liking the vibe, but as the song went on and I got settled into those waters, I started to get comfortable with it. And I actually liked this version as well. So we've got one more performer, Dimas Cenopati. So why don't we get into his, and then I will make my decision after.
La da da, la da 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 dum tum ta da da. La da da, la da 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 dum tum ta da da. become a light in the light that you shine can be seen. Baby, I compare you to a kiss from a rose on a grave. Ooh, the more I get of you, the stranger it feels, yeah. And now that your rose is in bloom, a light hits the gloom on a grave. Yes, I compare you to a kiss from a rose on a grave. Ooh, the more I get of you, the stranger it feels, yeah. And now that your rose is in bloom, a light hits the gloom on a grave. La da da, la da 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 dum tum ta da da. La da da, la da 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 dum tum ta da da. And now that your rose is in bloom, a light hits the gloom on the grave.
Okay. Well, all right. That is an applause for all three of them. Okay, so on this one, I'm noticing a few things here. I like that there's more. There's acoustic guitar present, and it's it's not just in the background. It gives it more of a rock and roll feel. And what else does is the grit in his voice. Okay, and I will talk a little bit more about that in a moment. It was a good production. It was nice. Just a nice version of the song. His voice is silky smooth, but when he wants to apply that grit to it, it really takes it to a little different level and gives it more of that rock and roll feel, that rock and roll spirit. And it took it from out of just simply pop rock more into rock and roll that way. There was a couple of things I noticed with his voice, excuse me. Number one, his diction isn't always clear. So the way that he pronounces, the way that he sings the words, but I'm not going to hold that against someone who doesn't speak English as their primary language because that would not be fair. However, when you are walking into a different language, performing it, you got to try and do it the best that you can because it's the audience who is going to ultimately judge, what you're doing and or assess what you're doing. And I think he does a good job overall that way. It's not, I mean, it's noticeable, but it's not something that's off putting. There was that part where I've been kissed by a rose from a grave where that gets repeated, and there should have been some sort of multi voice harmony layered in there. That wasn't really in there. It was just more or less him repeating it and then the keyboard player kind of putting something behind it. I think that was the weak spot of this performance, but overall, this was a really good performance. Um, okay, so now I have to sit here and I have to think about all three. I think Dan Vasc's was probably the most true to the original. Austin's was probably the most original cover of the original, and Dimas kind of seemed to be a little bit in between there, where it was pretty much true, but it had more of a rock and roll spin to it without making it a rock and roll song. So really, really nice selection here to choose from. Vocal performance. Dan is very strong and he's very precise on what he does. Austin is just seems to be so on some different level when it comes to his confidence level of his voice. And he, just that soul, that spirit that he put into it was so different, yet it didn't drastically change the song. And then Dimas with his silky smooth and his little bit of grit that he can put onto the song. Those are the three elements that I'm looking for on this one. And I've made it a tough one on myself unknowingly. So the way I'm going to look at it is when I say who did a better job, to me now it's going to be which version would I listen to more than the other ones? And that would be the way that I'm going to judge who did a better job. Uh, Dan is not going to make that cut for me because he was too true to the original. Not a whole lot of interpretation going on there. And don't be disappointed in that, because had the other two been very true to the original, now you're looking at like, okay, you know, Dan's probably just the power and the precision of his voices would probably carry it. But now you've got two others that have kind of put their own little stamp on it. That was very intriguing, attention getting for me. Um, Austin, I think that was man, that's tough. Do I want to? Yeah, I'd listen to it again, but I think there was too much giddy up in his get up and go. You know what I mean? I think it just had a little bit too much. Um, See, because there's a certain, what's the word I'm looking for? I want to say seductive nature of the song, but I don't know if that's really the right word. There's just something that kind of makes it, ah, yeah, I don't know. And I don't know the word, but I think that was not necessarily there with Austin, even though he gave it a totally different, fresh vibe. I'm going to have to go with Dimas on this one, mainly because of his ability to be silky smooth, yet put that grit in there and give it a little extra something that didn't change the song too much, but did give it a little bit different dimension. So that is my rationale. That is my answer. I'm sticking to it. You guys are feel free to just comment away. Don't look at this as, again, a competition as who is the better artist. Just who do you think um, gave this song, you know, did this song better? And it's okay to disagree, because I don't have to always be right. I just have to know that this version, the Dimas Cenopati version, is the version that I liked the most out of these three and would probably listen to more so than the others. But you will come up with your own. That's all I have for this. Guys, thank you so much. I do appreciate the time, the effort, and the love that you put into watching and commenting and reacting to my reaction. God bless you. Jesus loves you. Make sure you're out there helping one another. Don't forget that we need to clothe and feed those who need it, truly. All right, let's get on board and help our fellow man. I'll talk to you in the next video.